Hey friends, welcome to Codage. In this session, we are going to develop microservice using Spring Boot, which is going to interact with Amazon S3 bucket. We are going to develop API to download and upload file into the S3 bucket. We are also going to use AI code generator tool, that is AWS Code Whisperer. So what is Code Whisperer? So it is AI-based code generator tool which provide you recommendations in a real-time basis. As you write a code, it will automatically generate suggestions based on your existing code and the comments. So we will see that in a moment. So this demo I have divided into multiple steps. So first step we are going to do set up AWS CLI on our local machine. Then we are going to develop Spring Boot application using Spring Initializer. Then we will set up AWS Code Whisperer plugin in the IntelliJ. So I am going to use IDE as a IntelliJ in this demo. Fourth will be we will develop our application using Code Whisperer tool. Then we will test our API. So prerequisite for this lecture will be you should have AWS account. So let's get started. So our first step is to install AWS CLI on our local machine. So let's go into the Google and search install AWS CLI. And you can find the first link, that is for install and update latest version of AWS CLI. And you can follow this document to install the CLI on your local machine based on your operating system. I will attach this link in the video description. So I have already installed it. So let's move into next step. So in the AWS console, let's go into the IAM. And in the IAM service, we will create new user. So let's click on the users, click on the create user. Let's give it a name as YT demo. And let's click on the next button. So I have already created a user group, but what you can do, you can directly attach policy to it. Let's attach administrator access and click on the next. Click on the create user. So once the user is created, let's go inside that. And next click on the security credentials. And what we will do, we will create an access key here. So let's click on the access key. We are going to use command line interface. So select CLI and click on the next. So let's give a description. So you can give any description here and click on the create access key. So our access key is created. Let me go into the terminal. Now what we will do, we will configure this access and secret key on our local machine so that programmatically we can access AWS account. In the terminal, type AWS configure and press enter. So it will ask for the access key ID. So let me copy access key ID and let's paste it here. Then copy secret key. And it is asking for the default region name. So my default region name is Mumbai, that is AP South 1. So let me use that. Then keep it the default format, press enter. And this is how we have set up our CLI. So this credential is going to save in the credential file on our local machine. And this region is going to save in the config file. So if you want to see your file, what you can do, you can go into AWS folder. So path will be like this. And you can see credentials file is created in which this access key and the secret key is going to store. And in the config file, it is going to store region name. Okay. Now let's move into next step. So our next step is to set up our Spring project. So I will be using Spring Initializer for that. Let's give a name to our project. It will be Spring Boot S3 demo using Code Whisperer. I will be using Java 17 version, using Gradle as a build system. Let's add dependency for the REST API. It will be a Spring Web. Click on the generate. So it is downloaded the project. Let me open it into the IntelliJ. So our project is initialized. Now our third step is to set up AWS Code Whisperer in the IntelliJ. For that, what we can do, let's go into the settings. Let's move directly to the plugins, and in the marketplace, search for AWS Toolkit and click on the install. It is installed now. Let's click on the restart. So now we will set up our Code Whisperer. So let's go into the AWS Toolkit. You can find that option here in the left side, and go into Developers Tool. You can find Code Whisperer option here. Let's click on the Start option. Now here you will find multiple options to log in into Code Whisperer. So I will be using first option, using personal email address. That will be a free account. So let's click on the connect. So it will open a browser for the next step. So let's click on the proceed to browser. Confirm. So it is using my account that I have already opened here, and it is using locally configured credential file. So let's allow it to use by IntelliJ. So let's go back into the IntelliJ. Now you can see here it has connected successfully. Now one more setting you have to check. Let's go into the settings. Open the tools. Open the AWS option. Click on the Code Whisperer. And here, make sure that first option is selected. Okay. So we have completed our third step, that is to set up Code Whisperer. Now we will develop API for the S3 bucket. So let me create first configuration to access our AWS account. So let me create a new class. It will be in the config package, and class name will be AWS config. Let's give annotation as a configuration. Now we will try to generate the code using AWS Code Whisperer. So it will automatically suggest the code once you write the comments. So let me write the comment. Create method to get Amazon S3 client object using. Now you can see it is suggesting the code. For accepting the suggestion, what you can do, you can press the tab button on your keyboard. So we want to ignore this suggestion. For that, you can press escape button. And what we want to write next, using region. Okay, and it should return Amazon S3 object. Okay, now if you want to manually invoke Code Whisperer, for that you can press Option plus C button on your keyboard. So I'm pressing that now. Let's see, it is not suggesting anything. So let's continue with the writing code. It will suggest the code automatically. So let me create a bean first. Now it is suggesting the code. You can press tab to accept it. So I'm pressing tab. Okay. Now let me import. So why it is not working? Because we have not added dependency for the AWS SDK. So let's go into the build.gradle and let's add dependency for AWS SDK. Let's refresh the dependencies. Okay, so it is downloaded the dependency. So let me write few more lines. Now you can see it is suggesting the code. So let's see if there is any next suggestion. I am pressing the next arrow. So there is no suggestion. So let's accept this code. I am pressing a tab button. Now what change we have to do? We have to add a region here. So if you don't add region, still it will work because we have already added default region while setting up the credential file. So let me add region here. So let me reformat it. So you can see it is automatically suggesting the region code as well. So let me press the tab, and we have successfully created our configuration. It will return Amazon S3 object, and we will use this Amazon S3 object to interact with the S3 bucket. So let's move on to the next class that we are going to create to interact with the S3 bucket. So I will be creating a repository class. Class name will be S3 repository. Let's add annotation for it. It will be repository. Now let's auto-wire the Amazon S3 object that we have created in the AWS config class. So let me write annotation auto-wire. It will be Amazon S3. Now it is automatically suggesting a method for the upload the file. You can see how awesome this tool is. So based on the history, or maybe based on the learning from other code, it is generating the code for us. Let's skip this option for now. We will first create method to create the bucket. So let's write a comment for that. Create method to create S3 bucket. And we will add one more condition in the method. If bucket already exists, then it will return the bucket name. So let me write it. Okay. So you can see it is generating the code. Let me press the tab button. But we don't want code like this. Let me remove this, and let's see if it is generating or not. Let me write the if condition. And now you can see it is generating the code. Let me write code like the bucket is not exist, then create the bucket. So it has generated the code successfully. Let's press the tab button. Now we will add else part here to get the existing bucket. So let me write a comment again here. Get bucket if already exist. So you can see it is trying to fetch the code. So it has not suggesting anything. Let me invoke it manually. You can press option plus C. So it is generating a lot of comments here, but we don't want this. So let's escape it, and let's write the code. Okay, it is suggesting now. It is filtering on the list based on the bucket name, and then it is returning that bucket. So let me accept it, and let me reformat it. So let me return that object from the method. It will be bucket. So you can see AI tool is help us to write this code. Let's see how it is useful while creating upload and the download methods. So it is giving the error. Let me return it from here as well. Now let's create a method to upload the file. So I will write a comment again. Create method to upload file in S3 bucket. And we don't want this all the options. So let's press escape here. And let's see if it is generating. So you need to wait for some time while it fetches the data from the server. So let me press escape, and let's start writing our method. So it is suggesting the code, the method name that is upload file, and it is accepting bucket name, but we don't want these two parameters. So let's press the escape and let's write a method for it. Let's press the tab, we will change it later. And here we will change it to multipart file. And let's remove this code as well. So we are accepting here multipart file. Okay, we will need to convert it into the file object. So let me write code for that. Let me import it. So it is suggesting the code. So let me press the tab. Next we will write this file object into the file output stream. So let me write code for that. And let's throw the exception. Next we will write it. And let's close the stream. It is suggesting. Let's upload the file into bucket. So it is suggesting the code correctly now. Let's press the tab. And let's throw this exception as well. Okay, so we have created the method using the AI tool. So next we will create a method to download the file from the S3 bucket. So let's write a comment for that. Create method to download file from the S3 bucket. So it has generated method name correctly. It is accepting the bucket name and the file name. That's what we want. Press the tab. Let's see if it is generating code or further or not. So you can press arrow key to see next suggestions. So we want first line. So let's press the tab. We will delete the other code. And let me delete this auto-generated code. And from here we will return the S3 object. Okay, so this exception is not required. So we have completed our repository. We have created method to create the bucket, then upload the file, then download the file. Okay, now we are going to create the controller to use this method. So let me create a controller for it. So let me give annotation that is a REST controller. Let's auto wire our S3 repository. Now first method we are going to create is to create the bucket. So let's see how it helps us to create the method. So let me write the comment. Create method having get request mapping to create bucket, and it should use our S3 repository. And one more thing, it should accept bucket name as a request parameter, and it should return bucket object. Now let's see it is generating the code or not. It has not generated. Let's write the code. It should be a get mapping. Now it is generating. Let's press the tab. Let me import the bucket object. Should be from S3 model. So here it has not added request parameter correctly. So let's add that. We will use, so it has generated. Let me press Option plus C. And it has generated correctly. Let me press the tab. Now you can see it has generated the method correctly. It is using S3 repository and using our method. So next we will create method to upload the file into S3 bucket. So let me write comment for that. Create method having get request. So we don't want to use get request. We want to use post request here. to upload file in the S3 bucket. And next, it should accept bucket name and a file as a request parameter. Okay, that is correct one. And we don't want to return anything from here. Let's remove it. And let's press the Option plus C button. Let's see if it is generating or not. It's not generating correctly. Let's press the escape. And let's press the enter button. And let's try to write the method. So it is generating the method, but it is not using post mapping here. So we will change it later, and let's accept this method. So it has generated the parameter correctly. It has used the method previously that we have created, and it is suggesting based on that it has added request parameter and the get mapping. So let's change it to the post mapping. Now let's see it is generating code for us or not. Okay, so it is generating the code, that is S3 repository dot upload file. So let's press the tab. Now next we will create a method to download the file. So it has suggesting a method for us. So it is suggesting the whole method for us. So let's press the tab button, and we will change few part of this method. So we want to get mapping, that is correct. URL will be download file. We want to take bucket name and the file name as a request parameter, that is a correct one. We want to return HTTP entity. Then it is taking S3 object from our repository, that is correct one. Then it is creating HTTP header. Now let's change this part. Let me put some line here. We want to get content type, and that is from file. So it is correct one. Press the tab. Okay, let me remove this code. Then we want to get bytes, that is file get object content read all bytes, that is correct one. Then next we want to create HTTP header. Press the tab. So it is generating the header correctly. So let me add few more lines here, and let's add content length here. Based on the bytes length, press the tab. Next we will add content disposition. Let me do that. Headers.add, and here we will add. So it has added correctly. Let me press the tab. The next we will add cache control. So it has added line correctly. Let me press the tab. And next it is returning the HTTP entity object correctly. Okay. So our next step is to test all these APIs. So let me start our project. Let's go into our main class. Start. Okay, so our application is started. So let's go into the tool to test our API. So I will be using Hopscotch. So you can use Postman or your favorite IDE. If you are using Hopscotch, make sure you have installed the plugin for it in the browser. And next, check this browser extension option here as an interceptor. Okay. Now parameter will be bucket name, and URL will be localhost 8080/create bucket. So let's give some unique name to our bucket. Let's press the send option. Now it has written the S3 object. Now let's go into the console. Let's go into S3 service. And you can see it has created the bucket correctly. Now let's upload some object into bucket. So what is our URL? Let me copy this. And our URL will be, let's go into the controller. So URL will be /upload file, and we should send parameter as a bucket name and the file. So let me go into the tool. Bucket, let's copy bucket name from here. And it should be a post request. And let's go into the body, select multi-part form data, key will be file. Let's choose the file, and I will be selecting this image and click on the send button. Let's go into S3 bucket. So you can see it has uploaded the object. Now let's test our download API. So let's go into the tool. Let me copy this URL. So let's see what is our URL. So it is download file, and it should accept bucket name and the file name. So let's go into the tool, change the URL, and it is the get mapping request, and it should accept bucket name. So let's copy bucket name from here. Next parameter is file name, and our file name is lambda.png. Okay, you can see here lambda.png. So let's press the send button. Okay, so it has downloaded the file. You can download it from here as well. So we have successfully tested all our API, and we use AWS Code Whisperer to generate our code. So as it is an AI tool, it may generate different suggestion in your case. So that's it for this lecture. Thanks for watching the video.